Okay, I want to talk about the downside of carpet squares. Oops, I have a carpet square here, and I'm going to try to pull it up here. It's been on the floor for about 2 years. This is a concrete floor, and you can see it's kind of sticking more than you would expect. It's actually taking me longer to pull up these carpet squares than it did to put them down, which is really surprising. You know, I thought that would be really easy to pull them up, but the rubber is reacting with the concrete, or maybe with the wax, because they were possibly waxed within a few days of me putting these carpet squares down. I'm not really sure. But somehow it's reacting, and you can see the wax is getting on the back of the carpet squares there. So it's just a mess. And I think if I were to put carpet squares down again, I would try to use some felt padding underneath, a layer of felt padding, to try to prevent the rubber from adhering to the concrete. And so now this is going to have to be buffed and polished again. Hopefully my landlord won't be upset with me. Also, I want to mention these tile tabs. These are adhesive, double-sided tabs that are supposed to hold the carpet squares in place. And I think you should not use these unless you have a problem with the carpet squares sliding around. I've never had the problem, and I don't think they're necessary. The problem I did have when I did try to use these was when I went to pull up the carpet, I would find adhesive, like little double-sided Scotch tape adhesive, sticking to the concrete. So then I'd have to go and scrape that off with a razor blade. It's a real pain in the butt. So definitely avoid using these if you can, because it just creates a nightmare when you go to pull up the carpet squares. Now I think this problem with the adhesive or the adhering to the concrete is maybe related to the concrete and the rubber and maybe the wax, as I said. But in my case, the problem may be even worse, because I had a neighbor, I'll show you over here, who had an overflowing washing machine, and the water with the soap came down underneath my carpet squares, and you can see all these little white areas of the soap suds, the detergent, sticking to the floor. This one I've actually pulled up previously, so it's coming up pretty easily. But like this one, I guess maybe I pulled that one up too. But the areas where the soap is or was, those carpet squares are really hard to pull up. Here's one that I haven't done previously. And it actually doesn't have too many soap suds, but you can still see it's more difficult than you would expect to pull these carpet squares up. And in some cases, the backing from the carpet squares, the rubber backing, actually comes off on the floor. So then you have to take a putty knife and scrape it off the floor. So it's just a nightmare. Carpet squares are not as great as they're cracked up to be, especially when it comes to removing them. Now maybe that all this nightmare can be prevented with the use of an under pad of felt or something. But just a word to the wise, they can be a nightmare.